During your stress life as a web developer, calling a remote resource, you may run into this error while reading browser's console log. Origin request blocked. The same origin policy disallows reading the remote resource followed by the URL you are trying to use. Reason: CORS header access control allow origin missing. In this stress-free coding video, we will see what CORS means and how to fix this error. CORS is a acronym stands for Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. It's an HTTP header-based mechanism that allows a server to indicate any origin, domain, scheme, or port, other than its own, from which a browser should permit loading resources. Web content's origin is defined by a scheme, example HTTP or HTTPS protocol, host name as domain, and port of a URL used to access it. Two objects have the same origin only when the scheme, host name, and port all match. CORS also relies on a mechanism by which browsers make a pre-flight request to the server hosting the cross-origin resource. During pre-flight request, the browsers first send an HTTP request to the resource on the origin in order to determine if the actual request is safe to send. I have replicated an example across origin request on my machine, simulating a small Node.js web server and Angular single-page application as client. The resource to be called by an HTTP GET method returns a list of articles in JSON format. HTTP GET is on a Node.js web server listening on port 2022. Instead, the request starts from an Angular HTTP client instance on port number 4200. Well, it's a typical situation where a client has to fetch data provided by a public web API. So, even though I'm doing this call from a localhost to a localhost, the port changes, and that's enough to generate a cross-origin request block. Other cases where this error you might run into are when it calls to a remote resource by XML HTTP request, if you make AJAX requests, when using web fonts for cross-domain font usage in at font face within CSS, so that the server can deploy TrueType fonts that can only be loaded cross-origin and used by websites that are permitted to do so. When integrate remote images or video frames or WebGL textures in your HTML. To fix this problem, the server response must have a correct header set. Access control allow origin. Specify either a single origin, which tells browser to allow that origin to access the resource, or set the asterisk wildcard, tells browser to allow any origin to access the resource. So, I'm going to modify the web server code like this. I had the access control allow origin header. With the colors, domain, and port in my get method. And then I restart the web server. Now I reload the HTML page, and now the call was successful. Server side, you can set other headers. The access control expose headers adds the specified headers to the hello list that JavaScript, such as getResponse header, in browsers is allowed to access. The access control message indicates how long the results of a pre-flight request can be cached. The access control allow credentials indicate whether or not response to the request can be exposed when the credential flag is true. And the access control allow method specifies a single method or more HTTP methods allowed when the client accesses the resource. Okay, that's all for now. Like and subscribe to the channel for the next stress-free coding video. Bye.